Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to talk about CloudFront hands-on. So here we are going to create a website on CloudFront and we are going to browse it through the cache. So this is pretty much a simple hands-on experience towards CloudFront. And it's so simple that we have to create one single file. So now I've logged into the EC2 machine I've created earlier. So I'm pretty sure that you have that. I've not asked you to delete it, so you must have that running over here. So this is called AWS CLI Amazon machine. I'm using the same one which I created for CLI. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a file over here called index.html. Now this is going to be my index page of HTML. So I'm gonna give a h1 tag over here. I'm going to close this h1 tag and here I'm going to have the content. This is my website from S3 bucket. So I'm going to create this kind of a HTML page over here. So I'm going to use a HTML tag over here. Just to indicate that it is a HTML page. I'm going to close this HTML as well. And this is going to be the content over here. So this is basically highlighted content over here, where it's going to say this is my website from S3 bucket. Now save and quit this file. So this should actually have this file looking like this. Once you have this file, you can upload it to S3. Just make sure that you are still connected with AWS because you have anyways be connected, I guess. So let's see S3 LS. So see if you're connected. Yes, you are connected. So now firstly, we will create a bucket or we will use this test bucket only. My example S3 bucket itself we will use as our website name. And then I'll push this content over there, S3 copy index.html to this S3 bucket. So just by giving S3 colon slash slash, copy it to this bucket. I'm sorry, it should be CP. So it should get it copied. So now in my S3 bucket, I should have the, I'm going to bookmark this because we've been using so many times. So here, my example bucket has the index.html file. So you cannot actually read the file here because S3 is a location where you can, copy and store the file, but there's no way of reading the content of the file because a file could be of anything. So S3 doesn't allow you to do that. Now that you have copied the file across from your, from your Linux system to the S3 bucket, we should be good to create a website out of this. Now, as we are going to access this S3 bucket through a website, now we need to enable this S3 bucket to accept permissions for it to be browsed from the internet. So by default, S3 bucket is created with block all public IP address. So we need to disable that to allow CloudFront to serve the content from this S3 bucket to the public. So to do that, you can click on permission over here. And within that permission, you will see block public access bucket setting. So it's currently on. So which means it is actually blocking all public access to this bucket. So click on edit over here and then disable this and you can click on save button. So it's like confirm and then click on enter. I think I got that spelling wrong. So click on confirm and this should allow you to access your bucket from the internet. So your CloudFront will be able to use this information and will be able to project this particular file through the internet. So now let's go to CloudFront over here. So let's close all this and then open CloudFront. So now that CloudFront is open, now you can click on create a CloudFront distribution. Now, when you click on CloudFront distribution, you can select the origin of your website. So it can be from any of this action item, which is over here. It can be from a load balancer if you're pointing your application to your EC2. So load balancer will point it to your application on EC2 and EC2 will point it to your application which is running on it. But in this situation, we're going to use it from S3 bucket. So this is the one. And from here, the origin path over here, we can actually ignore this. We don't right now. We don't have to give an origin path over here. If you have a name over here, which is something which you can use as a website name, and that's the name you can enter over here. There are certain aspects you cannot change. Like for example, this is going to be your CloudFront name, so it's pretty much you can have anything you want, but your domain name would be something like this over here. Domain path, origin path is basically if you want to give a specific path after this URL, so we don't need it right now. So just go with public. So public meaning like anyone can access it. If you have any custom header information, you can give it over here. So now this is gonna go with origin shield. Origin shield adds additional caching layer, which helps reduce the load on the origin. That helps protects its availability. So now here you have the cache behavior. So this is the cache setting here. Viewer protocol is HTTP and HTTPS, or redirect HTTP to HTTPS. So I would select this. So if someone accesses HTTP website, you will be displayed HTTP website separately, and the same content will be displayed on HTTPS website as well. But it is always highly recommended to have only HTTPS browsing. But here, if you select HTTPS only, the people on which who is trying with HTTP on your URL will not able to access it. So it's always have a redirect from HTTP to HTTPS. Allow method get and head. So this is going to be like getting your request or your head information, header information over here. Now if it's not recommended to have all this information, because post information means it can also push information to your service. That's not restricted. Restricted access view, this is basically for your cookie settings, and then you have some cookie settings over here as well. The cache policy optimization, we're gonna go with the default one, which is recommended for S3. We're gonna have the default ones over here as well. Now you have so many settings here. So here you have the WAF protection. So we are enabling WAF protection over here for any kind of attack to our website. And then here in the setting, use all the edge location, best performance, use North America and Europe. So this will be prioritizing your information. So based on that, the pricing would be dependent on. If we're gonna go for all edge location, irrespective of the location, every edge location is gonna pick it up. So if we click on the pricing information, cloud formation, CloudFront pricing, now you will see that there is a free tier over here. 1 TB of data transferred out of the internet per month is like free, or 10,000 HTTP or HTTPS requests per month, or I think it's 2 million CloudFront functions invocation per month, and then free SSL certificate, no limitations, all features are available. So if you want to understand the complete pricing, so if you go beyond the definitive value over here, you can see CloudFront 1 TB free tier. So it's already giving you 1 TB free tier. So now here you can actually look for pricing over here, how much amount of data transfer you want to looking for. It's like 1 GB per month, data transfer, 1 GB per month again. Number of requests is going to be for 1 GB data, it would mean 5,000 requests. So which is like in this calculation, you will see that how much you're going to be charged. You're going to be charged the first it's going to be 0.09 USD. It's pretty cheap, and the total monthly cost is about 0.12 USD. So this is pretty much your United States calculation, but then you can actually check it for different locations as well and find the calculation for different locations over here. You also have a security savings bundle over here, which you can use that to save by reading through the FAQ. So you can save up to 30% from per month over on the CloudFront. But any which ways, we are going to use the basic item over here. So here the HTTP version. So if you have a custom certificate, SSL certificate, you can choose it from here. but we're going to use the default one. Here's the protocol version. We're going to go with the default ones over here. And the standard logs, which talks about the viewer request, like who's viewing it, and you can turn it on, and which means that you can put it on a bucket over here. So we will put it at the test bucket over here. Invalid bucket for standardized logging, enable ACL. So likewise, you can, I don't need it right now because it gets complicated. Click on distribution, and this should enable you to create a CloudFront distribution. Now, the CloudFront distribution is going to enable you to, create a website and have that hosted. And you can actually see that it's currently in the deploying phase over here. So it says like the security tab. It creates the, it's creating this. Share your opinions, asking for feedback. So let's go ahead over here and see the progression of this. It's in the deployment state. It is still deploying, so it may take a bit of a time. I'm just looking for any kind of events over here, which can, you can add custom error pages as well. You can add behaviors, origins over here, security. If there's any kind of security related alerts or something like that, you can actually see that. You can also check the metrics, your distribution metrics over here. There's no data because I guess it's still going on over here in terms of distribution of deploying. Let me pause the video and pause it once this completes. So guys, it just started, and you can see that deployment is completed, and you see the date of the deployment, which is completed. When I click on this, and you will actually see the requirements over here, as in like the details of this particular, general details of this particular distribution. You can see security, you can see origin. So the origin will actually have, the S3 bucket details over here, and that's basically your origin. So if you want to browse this application, you can use this distribution domain name over here, but it is still last modified as deploying at this moment. So if you just access this website, you can see currently it is coming with access denied. So now this pretty much sums up that it is still deploying. So we're going to wait for some more time. So it's already been like 10 to 15 minutes. So we may have to wait for a few more minutes, and then I think it should be getting deployed. So now do remember that you can edit this particular action item. And I think I did something wrong, I guess, here. That's why it went back to deploying, because last time when we saw that, it was actually giving the timelines over here. I don't know what I did wrong over here, but it went back to deploying. So give me some time so let it sort out. Now do remember that you can actually mention the index.html as your root page as well. To have the index.html as your root page, so here in the settings over here, you have the default root document, right? So here you can go ahead and edit it and put this, index.html over here, and you can save the changes. Now, maybe I did that. Could that be the reason? I don't know. So if you just access this index.html here, let's see, you're still getting this access denied exception. Just give me a second. No, this error could mean that the S3 is not accessible. The S3 object, which is index.html, is not accessible. There's an access denied coming from it. Now, how are we going to fix it? Firstly, we will open S3 and we will try to browse the S3 and see if the S3 is actually accessible, so that we can understand if this is a problem with CloudFront or S3 itself. So let's open this S3 file over here, and you will actually get a URL over here. So to browse this file in a public way. So we have enabled we have disabled this. So let's refresh this once. So when I do a control refresh, you can see that we are getting the same result over here. So the previous one was coming from cache. So when you do a control refresh, hold control and press F5, it will refresh the cache and it will ask you to get the new result. So you are getting this access denied at S3 level. So for you to fix this CloudFront issue, The CloudFront seems to be fine. It is deploying the application, but the problem is like this exception is coming from S3 end. So to fix this exception, what you can do is like first you understand the permission of your bucket a little more enclosed. So what we have done is like we have we have disabled the block called public access, but still we have not given public access to access our bucket. So as you can come down over here, we have access control list. Now, when you read the access control list over here, this basically grants bucket owner access to read and list and write objects and read and write bucket ACLs. So bucket ACLs, something which you can do as a owner. That's obviously you cannot do that. But in for public access, you can see that that's pretty much not available over here. Now, this is where it gets complicated. So now you just basically have to edit this and enable the public access. But the problem is like edit is disabled. And when you see the information, this bucket has the bucket owner enforcing setting applied for object ownership. So basically, it applies in the topper level. So if you want to modify, specific requirements for this particular bucket, you have to change the object ownership over here by clicking on edit here and change this to disabled ACL to enabled ACL. So this will, you have to acknowledge that you're enabling ACL for a specific bucket and then click on save changes. Now, when you come down to the same option, you will see the edit button over here. Click on edit button. Now you have object and bucket ACL. So for everyone public access, we can list the objects which is in the bucket, but we cannot, bucket ACL cannot be read. Okay. So we can only list the access to objects. So just click on I understand. Save the changes, but it only applies for those which is going to be created later point of time. But this one is already there, so we may need to do the setting for itself as well. So go to permission over here and you have the similar set of permission, which is like whenever this was created, it is the same permission at that time. So just click on edit over here and read on objects, select yes. So people can read the objects which is in this public bucket. And I say understand, and then I save changes. Now, when you browse this URL, see if it works. Now you can see that this is the same exact content of that particular file. So that content is working. So just close this and pretty much refresh this. And you can see that this content is coming from S3 bucket now. Now this content is basically hosted on your CloudFront. So you can see the CloudFront URL, which I've taken it from here, from this CloudFront URL, and then I put it across over here. Now, when I try to, this is the bucket information, S3 bucket information. So if you just put HTTP over here, you can see that. If you want to disable this information, very simple. There are two options for you. You can change the bucket information by going to bucket permission, and then you can edit this and you can remove this, save the changes. So now this particular information will not come. Okay, so it's still coming. So that's pretty much, I thought it will disable the public access to its object, but still, I think it's a general information showing you the content of what it has. So that's fine, I guess. So here you have the information saying that there is an index.html file. I told you there's another way, right? So go over here into the root object and edit this root object and say root object should point to index.html. So this is also another way you can disable this, but I guess it will deploy this changes right now. So let's wait for those changes to deploy. It may take a couple of minutes for this to get deployed. Now I think the deployment is completed, I guess. It says deployment. But if you just type the website right, you can see that you don't have the access which you had before, and you are directly getting the index.html, which is the front file. So here, in this way, we can avoid that information being printed on the home page of your CloudFront website. So now you can see how many times I refresh it, I get this page without even typing it. So if you're typing HTTP also, there's no problem. It gets redirected to HTTPS and you get the index.html content. This is because I have just enabled index.html as the default root object. In this case, every time I access this website or this particular domain name, I will get the content from index.html. So this is how you can host it on CloudFront. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope it was useful for you. Let me go ahead and delete this particular CloudFront because we don't want this to be running, because it's going to be taking much of charges from AWS. So let's go ahead and have this undeployed, disabled, and then once it is disabled, you will have the action to delete this particular instance. So I think it's still operational, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, just give it some time and there'll be option for you to delete this. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next video.